Facebook Live, we're going to be watching the Bryan Kohberger extradition hearing or press conference. Sorry.
We are hearing is that reportedly through law enforcement sources, okay, that there is a DNA component to this, a DNA match of some kind. We also know that the Elantra, the white Elantra that we can say now, was discovered at his property, or what police believe to be the white Hyundai Elantra that they have been searching for. So he has to know that. He absolutely has to know that to some extent,
to some degree. Through his representation. Okay. However, whether or not he's aware of the evidence, that's a good question.
Did you is that feed still up? Do you see anybody come out of the courtroom, or is
the feed is down?
Okay.
They have ended the pool feed, so this is but there is,
Well, because my question is, the father of one of the victims, Steve Kernolde, Kaylee's dad. She was the 21-year-old daughter, his daughter, who was murdered. He was in there, and essentially he's positioning himself to be pretty much the victim who wants to be the face of the victims for this case, so to speak. So he was talking to NBC News earlier. He says, I want him to be sick of seeing us and sick of knowing that these people won't let it go. It's a battle of wills, and we'll see who wins. So this dad, as fired up as he should be.
Sorry, that's not the live, you guys. This is the live.
Here with a high degree of confidence.
Is this the live?
How much what they're dealing with, right? Yep.
Yes.
So where is this now? Is this the police headquarters? Yeah, look at the exact police.
So we're waiting for the press conference.
That's a tiny room. This is the Monroe County District Attorney's Office.
I know you can't see the screen
in Stroudsburg,
yet.
PA.
I'm going to get into sharing it.
Same county, so not too far away. In fact, reporters might be
heading over to this location, going from the courthouse over here. Who knows?
There.
So this is about to get underway. We'll continue to answer some questions while we have another, really, it's 4:29, so that snuck up on me. This will begin momentarily. Let's bring up our audio here for the first time.
Welcome to Parawomen Radio, everyone.
And here are
they're starting.
Pennsylvania State
If you
Police.
like this live, it would help me out a ton. And if you like the live, if you could subscribe, that would be over the moon happy for me.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lieutenant Adam Reed. I'm the Director of the Communications Office with the Pennsylvania State Police. Thank you for joining us here. The order of speakers is going to be our Pennsylvania State Police Commissioner, Colonel Robert Ivanchik, Major Christopher Paris, he's our Area 3 Commander, and First Assistant District Attorney, Monroe County, Mike Mancuso. After the speakers have finished, we will then take a handful of questions. Colonel Ivanchik.
Good afternoon. I'm Colonel Robert Ivanchik, Commissioner of the Pennsylvania State Police. While I monitored the investigation into the horrific murders of the University of Idaho students, I did not imagine the investigation would lead to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. My heart goes out to the families of the victims, their friends, the community of Moscow, and the University of Idaho. No words can heal the pain associated with the loss of a child. Their young lives were ended far too soon. In law enforcement, we understand the best thing we can do for victims and their families is to follow every lead, collect every piece of evidence, and bring those responsible to justice. I am proud of the members of the Pennsylvania State Police who were able to help in this investigation. The cooperative relationship between our local, state, and federal partners stands the test of time. The officers, troopers, and federal agents work together tirelessly, putting in long, difficult hours. Communication and cooperation are imperative to success and to ensure the integrity of the case remains maintained. The culmination of that cooperation ultimately led to take the suspect into custody and afforded the families some sense of peace they deserve. I want to thank the Moscow Police Department, the Idaho State Police, and our partners in the Federal Bureau of Investigation for their support, assistance, and coordination. I also want to recognize the Monroe County District Attorney's Office. And finally, I need to acknowledge the members of the Pennsylvania State Police, specifically members of Troop N, our Bureau of Criminal Investigation,
They did do a good job.
and our Bureau of Emergency and Special Operations, who assisted in safely taking the suspect into custody in the early morning hours of December 30th. As previously indicated by Chief James Fry of the Moscow Police Department, specific details regarding this investigation cannot be released until the suspect is extradited to Idaho and presented with the probable cause affidavit. At this time, I will turn the microphone over to Major Christopher Paris, commander of Area 3,
Which one
who
is
was
it?
involved in
Is
the
it this guy?
coordinated
Is that
efforts
him or
to
him?
take the
What do
suspect
you
into
think? I think
custody.
it's him. Oh, it's him.
Thank you, Colonel.
That's why I call myself the
Area
Dustin
3
Psycho.
comprises troops F, P, N, and R, and is made
And a
up of
50-50 chance of
1,000
right.
approximately of the women and men, civilian and enlisted, in the northeastern part of Pennsylvania. I'd like to introduce to my left Captain Norm Kramer, who's the commander of Troop N Hazleton, which is comprised of Carbon, Monroe, Columbia, and parts of Luzerne counties. I would like to reiterate, as the Colonel said, that Idaho law prohibits any release of information contained within the affidavits. So we're going to do our best today to talk about what phase we are currently in the investigation, and it has entered a new phase with the waiver for extradition. And the continuing primary goal is the seeking of justice through successful prosecution and conviction, bearing the burden of proof beyond a reasonable doubt. So with that in mind, we're trying to balance essentially two things. The public's desire for information against the
Oh,
need to maintain the integrity of the investigation and protect the suspects, accused at this point's due process. So I'll now attempt to give you an operational picture with the best information I can release at the time.
So this begins when the Pennsylvania State Police Bureau of Criminal Investigation troopers were contacted by the FBI about assisting with surveillance of the accused in this case. I'd like to take the opportunity to specifically thank several individuals. Special Agent Charge Jackie McGuire, Assistant Special Agent
Troop
Charge
N Criminal
Dave
Investigation
Carter,
Section, commanded by Captain Kramer over my left shoulder here,
see if it stops lagging.
began to collaborate with authorities in Idaho. Specifically, I'd like to
Sorry,
acknowledge
guys.
Lieutenant James Curto, who is here today, Sergeant Anthony Ferdinand, Corporal John Chulak, who is not present with us, and Troopers Leary and Knoll, who are here with us today. It was through this collaboration and the charges pending in Idaho that those troopers were able to obtain search warrants and a fugitive from justice warrant that was prepared here in Monroe County for the location in Chestnut Hill Township and the fugitive from justice warrant for Mr. Kohberger, respectively. I'd like to acknowledge the Monroe County District Attorney, David Christine, as well as First Assistant Mike Mancuso and their entire office. The support that we received was absolutely excellent. Once those warrants were obtained, the Bureau of Emergency and Special Operations, BESO, coordinates our Special Emergency Response Team, CERT. They were selected to serve those warrants, the 3 search warrants and the fugitive from justice warrant. To define what CERT is, it's a full-time tactical team maintained by PSP to deal with high-risk warrant situations, barricades, and other incidents requiring specialized tactical training or other capabilities. From their perspective, we essentially task them to go out and serve a arrest warrant for someone accused of a quadruple murder. They're activated several hundred times a year throughout the Commonwealth. We don't typically hear of their work in a forum like this because they serve the warrant, the person's taken into custody, and they go about their assignment. They are the ultimate professionals. It's a volunteer team. They're highly trained and highly motivated. Captain Norm Kramer over my left shoulder was assigned as the top com for the CERT activation, which means he was responsible for coordinating our tactical preparations. So tactical assets were then staged in the county, in Monroe County, into the evening of Thursday, December 29th, last Thursday. And in the early hours of Friday, December 30th, those warrants were executed at the location. Mr. Kohberger was taken into custody without incident. The scene was turned over to the FBI Evidence Response Team for processing. Mr. Kohberger was then turned over to the Monroe County Prison, where he has remained in their custody since. I'd like to thank the Monroe County Sheriff and the Stroud Regional Police Department for their support as well during the extradition process. Arrangements currently are being made to deliver Kohberger back to Idaho, where he can have continued due process and face these charges. So it's with that, I will turn it over to First Assistant Mike Mancuso.
There was one other famous person returned back to Idaho.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Mike
From
Mancuso,
Hawaii,
DA's
Lori
office,
Vallow.
First Assistant District Attorney. I want to give my condolences to the families of the victims out in Idaho for their loss. It's my sincere hope that this marks a clear step in the right direction of effectuating justice for those folks. My office's role was relatively recent. We weren't advised of the presence of the defendant in our county until only a couple days before the apprehension of the defendant. But when we were told, we came together and worked very closely with Captain Kramer, who did an excellent job in almost like a clockwork operation. Part of my duties were to ensure that 3 separate search warrants were issued. Those affidavits attached to those search warrants are still under seal, so I can't discuss their contents with you. But one was for the person of Mr. Kohberger, collecting DNA and photographs, that sort of thing. One was for the white Elantra vehicle, which I understand has been seized and is being processed. And one was for the address, the residence itself that he was living in with his family. I was at the scene, and I have to say that Major Paris and Captain Norm Kramer did an outstanding job in coordinating the efforts, not only of the numerous Pennsylvania State police troopers there, but officers from other jurisdictions and disciplines within those jurisdictions to make this a very smooth, highly competent professional operation. It is a quirk, apparently. It's not in the norm of the states I'm familiar with, that Idaho does not release their probable cause affidavit in support of their arrest warrant until after their defendant is returned to that state. But having read those documents and the sealed affidavits of probable cause, I definitely believe that one of the main reasons the defendant chose to waive extradition and hurry his return back to Idaho was the need to know what was in those documents. So that's a significant development. Beyond that, looking at the scope of the situation and the ties this defendant has to my county, I would hold our office at the disposal of the Idaho authorities to help facilitate a complete background investigation into the defendant, both
I switch streams. It's either
prior
everywhere or it's mine.
Occurring within the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and his activities after the murders in Pennsylvania. So we stand ready to assist with that effort on an ongoing basis. Thank you.
Is that it?
We can now open it up for questions.
You specifically did, or can you give us any indication as to the operations of state police when you were notified and talk about putting tactical in the area. How long were they there? And what's the
We're not in a position to give you an exact time. It was at some point prior to when the surveillance was taken as the investigation progressed to a point where search warrants could be obtained, and the probable cause for those search warrants and an arrest warrant, a fugitive from justice warrant based on the arrest warrant out in Idaho were obtained. We began to take the tactical steps to plan to serve them.
Were you collecting evidence prior to his arrest?
At this point, like we said, it's very much pertinent to what's in the affidavits, which we cannot speak about.
Talk about his demeanor when the arrest actually happened.
Present sense. Its impression, as likewise ongoing investigation can't discuss.
I don't know why it's doing this.
Broadband 69 News. How is Kohberger being transported back to Idaho?
Those arrangements are being discussed right now, as well as the logistics. The court order says, those of you who heard it today, it's within the next 10 days. So we're currently working on that in coordination with authorities out in Idaho.
You think he'll be back by tomorrow?
Sir, I can't comment.
Is he being held in the Monroe County Jail until he's extradited, or is he removed to another?
No, he is. Lodged in the since he was dropped off there Friday morning. He's resided in Monroe County Prison. Correct, yes.
I think it's the strain. It wasn't doing it on
At this
anything
point, that's
else.
still being coordinated between the state police and the authorities out there. We don't know.
Will the affidavit be unsealed when he arrives in Idaho?
I don't want to speak out of my lane. When I watched the press conference on Friday at 1 p.m. Pacific time, I was alerted to the fact that, according to Idaho state law, that the affidavits have to be served to him once he's extradited back before they could be unsealed.
Has he said that anyone else been arrested?
Ongoing investigation.
Has the motive been determined?
I can't comment on that either.
Who transports him, sir? Does Pennsylvania State Police, the Monroe County Sheriff's Department?
He's presently back. He was transported from the courthouse by Montgomery County, Monroe County Sheriff, and the logistics of who's going to transport him out to Idaho are still being discussed. We don't know.
Can you confirm the time of his arrest and how much longer his presence there actually was?
I would say it was in the early morning hours of Friday, December 30th. Tactical assets on scene were probably in the neighborhood of 50.
50? Whoa.
Were you afraid he was going to get tipped off before you got him?
I would say overall about this entire operation, and the credit goes, this is a part that the state police played humbly. You look at Moscow Police Department, 38 sworn, 19,000 leads. The video evidence that they had to develop in order to put that out, all public source information. But when you talk about the service of a high-risk warrant for someone who's committed or alleged to have committed 4 homicides, there's nothing routine about that. And all of those tactical steps that were taken were in conjunction with the best efforts of the authorities, local, state, and federal, both in Idaho and here, to ensure that we could do it safely and to ensure that we could get him into custody and that those service or the search warrants could occur.
Sir, can we ask a question of the first assistant? Mr. Mancuso, you described, having read to a degree, the contents of that affidavit of probable cause, and that you possibly speculated or theorized that he wanted to get back to read that as well, since he can't read that. Can you give us an indication of the seriousness of what you did? I know you can't talk about it, but you share with us something.
Yeah, I can't get into the details, sir, but I can say it involved the defendant's connection to a scene of a crime consisting of 4 murdered people. So that's the significance of it.
Can you confirm that there is a connection between Bryan Kohberger and any of the victims?
I can't discuss
That he is guilty of his crimes.
that. That wouldn't be my place to say. Certainly confident enough that there was ample probable cause for the issuance of the various warrants in the case.
What's your reaction? And when you heard this, we've all talked about, you followed this. This happened states away. When you get that call, or you all get the call, that this person could be right here in your home area. What's your reaction?
Well, I was surprised. Really, Monroe County of all places. It hits close to home. It's a normal human reaction, I would think, under the circumstances.
Do you know when he and his father left Idaho or Washington and drove to Pennsylvania, what that date was?
No, I don't know the exact date.
I believe you're in the middle of December, is that correct?
I think that's approximate.
We heard reports that they were stopped not once but twice on the highway. Can you elaborate?
I'll defer to his Pennsylvania public defender on that.
Kohberger's connected to other crimes and unsolved mysteries in the area.
I wouldn't answer that question at this time. That would be a normal thing to do.
For the BSB here, said he was taken without incident. Is it safe to say that, I should say it's safe to say, did it seem like he was expecting?
I wouldn't comment on what his present sense was. I would just comment that the professionalism of the CERT team and their tactical training definitely proved in a situation like this to do it in the most tactically sound and fastest way possible.
Was there anybody else in the house at the time?
His parents were in the house. Again, present sense and professional. I can't comment on that ongoing investigation.
You ever go down the door?
Force was used. The warrants were issued for evening search warrants, which in Pennsylvania requires additional probable cause in order to serve them at the hours of darkness. I would defer to the first assistant to talk about the legal burden that you bear in order to obtain those. But from a tactical standpoint, based upon all of the briefings that we had developed and all of the intelligence we had developed, we thought that was the best time to serve it.
That Pennsylvania was involved with this.
They were alerted by the FBI. Troopers in the Bureau of Criminal Investigation were alerted.
Pages that to them.
I can't comment. Can't comment. Ongoing, like I said. State Police's role here was to serve the warrants and assist with the surveillance, which we've done. We've been part of major investigations. These are men and women who take an oath to protect their communities and the Commonwealth here. We're very humbled with the opportunity that we had, given a case that has really gained international attention, to play a small part in it. And our hat is off to Moscow PD again with the size and the complexity of this investigation and the work that they've done to get us here today. And this is only the beginning of the next step.
Determined, did anyone here in Pennsylvania either help to conceal or dispose of any evidence? Then you would be a part of this case, or would it go?
I would say that we would pledge whatever support we can for ongoing investigations with the Idaho authorities here in Pennsylvania. Absolutely, we would help them in any way we could.
Were there any weapons found in the home?
I don't want to get into what was actually seized in the house, pursuant to the evidentiary nature of it.
Can you give any insight into why you all decided to go in overnight to make the arrest?
Those are tactical decisions in terms of base surveillance. I don't want to give out too many tactical factors that go into that situation, but obviously surveillance was conducted, and we wanted to go in at a time when we thought it would be the safest for everybody, safest for anybody else in the house, safest for Mr. Kohberger, and safest for our people.
There was an interesting question asked earlier about the care that needed to be taken to not tip the suspect off. Could you describe how long that lid had to be on things and how many people were involved in it. Like how many people knew and for how long?
So I would say, I would answer the question this way. I don't want to get into a timeline in terms of when we were notified by the FBI, when the surveillance began. Obviously, we know on Thursday night into Friday morning is when the warrants were served. I would say, as a credit to the professionals, both standing behind me and others not here, many others not here, the information was held very close. And we did not want to have any situation where Mr. Kohberger potentially would be tipped off. So as a result of that, I would say a close number of approximately 7 to 8 individuals, maybe 10 on the most within the PSP side of this operation knew about it.
For days, can we say? Or?
I would say for a period of time. I would not feel comfortable commenting any more than that for a period of time. And then as the tactical assets were brought in, people were briefed.
The plan is finally decided. Will there be an announcement? Will
not from the state police, so we would defer to Moscow and the authorities in Idaho.
starts leaving Pennsylvania?
We have security concerns now, obviously, to move any prisoner. Anytime you move somebody from a secure prison to another place, we don't want. There won't be an announcement from the state police in terms of those logistics, but they're being worked on right now.
Guys, we're moving on.
I think he might be moved roughly.
Come watch.
We would like to do it as soon as possible, but the court order says 10 days. We have 10 days to coordinate.
Will he be on a plane tonight? Is it possible he could be on a plane tonight? That's a possibility, right?
I would think that's probably not likely. We're looking into that right now.
Can you confirm or deny that a window was broken in order to gain access to the home?
There were multiple windows that were broken, I believe, to gain access, as well as multiple doors. I think the video of the house after the fact confirms that, and that would all be part of the tactical plan based on the floor plan of the house, etc., and what the CERT operators would do to serve those warrants.
On your radar before, and are you looking at any objections?
Wouldn't comment on that
God,
based
those
on the
parents
ongoing
must have been terrified.
You have a criminal past. According to the UJS, I didn't see anything.
Can't comment on a person's criminal history during an ongoing investigation.
Mr. Mancuso said that you stand ready to assist in giving the complete background of the defendant.
What specifically is law enforcement interested in?
That'll be the last question after.
In any case of this nature, and I prosecuted a fair share of homicides, double homicides, that sort of thing, you want to look at any evidence of possible motive. You want to look at any evidence of a pattern, of modus operandi or method. You want to get into the subject's character, mental state to the best you can, that sort of thing. And so it'll be an all-encompassing effort, which we stand ready for. Okay. We have our ways. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Just for a quick spelling, I'll give everyone the spelling of everyone's name. It was included in the media advisory, but just so we have it.
Okay. That was the end of the press conference. It really didn't tell us too much. It basically, he's being extradited. He's going, and something interesting they did say about it was that he agreed to the extradition because he has to go back to Idaho to find out what they have evidence of, what the crime he is charged with committing. So they do believe he's allowing himself to be extradited because he needs to know what evidence they have. And that's why he's saying that he didn't do it and his parents are shocked. And well, I agree. I know his parents are shocked, but yeah. What a piece of crap to if he did this, what a piece of crap on all levels, but to drive back to your parents' house and have the police bust in the doors and the windows to come get you. This parents must have been terrified. I just can't even imagine having police bust in. Whoa. Whoa. So I thought that what I would do was I would show you the video of him going in and out of court. So let me find the video to show you. Let's see here. Okay. So I'm going to show you the video of Bryan going into court for the extradition hearing and leaving court. I haven't created it so that it's super fast. I just have it. Hi guys, welcome to Parawoman Radio. I just have it. Let me see. There it is. I just have it from when.
There it is. You're at Bryan Kohberger.
Okay, here he comes, guys. Look at him. I just think he looks terrified. I've got goosebumps. This is insane. This is my first reaction, by the way, guys. There he went. And then they didn't allow cameras in the courtroom. And so there was waiting, more waiting, talking, waiting, watching the police officers, waiting some more. Wow, we waited a long time. Well, not really long, but the hearing only lasted what? Okay, let's see. When he comes out, was it 15 minutes? Yeah. It was literally, let's see. Well, the people are coming out, so it was literally probably like, this is when movement started, so it was like literally only 16 minutes long. Well, yeah. Okay. Here we go. Oh, guys. I get to see a police officer try to be charming and funny. There he is. Maybelline. What do you think, guys? I think he looks terrified. Terrified, but kind of in his glory as well. Yeah. I still think can you guys see that guy with a knife? Just going crazy on 4 sleeping people. Okay, so that was him coming and going. Let's go to. Let's watch some of my videos that I've made on this Idaho 4. Oh, what do you guys think about the BTK daughter having a connection to Bryan Kohberger? What do you guys think about that?
Today, what is she saying? I did, and this is just a chilling connection. We're going to get to that in just a second.
I'm just
First,
like
though, I wanna
amazed by
update
it.
you on something that we just discovered through the public defender here in Monroe County, Pennsylvania. He confirms that Bryan
If anyone's
Kohberger's
listening
father
and they want to come up on panel and talk about this, just let me know and I'll put the link in the
with Bryan
chat.
Kohberger back here to Pennsylvania in mid-December, that they were in the white Hyundai Elantra and that they drove back together here in mid-December, which is very, very interesting because remember,
they got done with
that basically the entire country has been looking for that white Hyundai Elantra, and now that you know that they were together in the car driving back here to Pennsylvania where this whole thing ended. But
so people tuning in, I'm just going to stop this for a second. I don't want to like talk over it, but the press conference is over. Not too much happened. The thing that I found the most interesting was one officer said that the reason he believes that Bryan did the extradition was that he has to go back to Idaho and go through that process to find out the evidence that they have against him. And so he believes that's the only reason he's going back. But I mean, yeah, I guess that makes sense that would be like the only reason. Otherwise, he could like fight it, maybe. I don't know. But Nancy Grace did say like he could try to fight it, but it's as simple as, okay, if he said no, I'm not going to be extradited, then they bring in a lawyer or something right into the courtroom and they do a hearing right there, and he, then he would be extradited. So it's like she said like a half hour later he'd be extradited. So it didn't matter if he said yes or no. He was being extradited today, but he said yes. So he's being extradited, and they're not saying when, obviously, but it will be within the next 10 days.
Back to that chilling connection.
This
Bryan
is
Kohberger's professor.
A video we're watching with the connection of the BTK killer and Bryan.
Here in Pennsylvania, professor of criminology, actually wrote a book on the serial killer BTK and interviewed him extensively. They have an intimate relationship. They spoke on the phone and had in-person interviews many, many times. And she actually wrote his autobiography. And now BTK's daughter is speaking to us exclusively about this very, very strange connection. She is wondering whether Kohberger perhaps had a fascination with her father. She's also talking about what families go through in situations like this when someone in the family is arrested for a brutal killing.
If you guys want to,
with BTK,
let's watch that interview after this. I'll find it. It's a really good interview, and I haven't watched it all yet.
One of the most disturbing aspects of Bryan
Kohberger's
past is what he was studying, criminology,
TikTok.
and who he was studying under at DeSales University in Pennsylvania. Dr. Catherine Ramsland, a serial killer expert who had a close relationship with serial killer BTK, even writing his autobiography.
What did you first think when you heard that Dr. Ramsland was teaching Bryan Kohberger?
Personally, my first reaction was just like my stomach churned, and I literally.
She looks like her father.
Knowing that there was now a connection back to Ramsland.
That's the BTK.
Next to my father's
daughter.
It was just a lot.
Carrie Rawson is serial killer Dennis Rader, aka BTK's daughter. BTK stands for Bind, Torture,
Doesn't
Kill.
she look like him?
Rader is responsible for killing 10 people.
Do you think he may have had any sort of communication with your father?
Kohberger could definitely have had communication with my father. Well, obviously, we studied my father in criminology classes. He probably studied it even heavier since he had Ramsland as a professor. But we need to find out if there's a deeper
Maybe I'll do a
connection.
live later and just come on and we'll watch that.
Like if Kohberger was
I think I'm going to do
with
that.
BTK in prison, he would have had access because of his professor, Dr. Ramsland, who's appeared in more than 200 crime documentaries and was even on News Nation in October discussing the Delphi case.
Help explain to me the mindset of a killer living in a community where they have carried out allegedly this heinous act. Well, if it is the person, the suspect that they have under arrest right now, he was married, so he would have had to have secrets.
Dr. Ramsland is known for her TV appearances, but she's not talking now. When I asked her about Kohberger, she responded, "I cannot make media statements about him at this time." But Carrie Rossing,
I can't wait
Nightmare in
to.
Idaho, has
Oh,
now
she's.
come full circle.
I want to figure out how to stop it. Like, it's hard to be the kid of this guy and live with this.
Yes.
You know, and then see somebody else go do this and wonder, did your dad influence him? Did your dad talk to him? Like, was he studying my father outside of academics? I mean, am I ever going to get answers to that? I don't know.
Yeah. So are you guys, if I come back in, are you guys interested in watching the BTK connection? Because I like to look at the weird and the bizarre aspects of cases. That's what Para Women is about. We support women, but it's women, all women, but we really focus on women that are doing strange and bizarre and just different things that are so outside of the box that they're just fascinating. And that's who we spotlight. But yeah. I think I'm going to go ahead and end this. Thanks for watching. Just a recap of the end of the press conference. He's being extradited. They're not telling us when. It's going to be within the next 10 days. They believe he wants to be extradited for the mere fact that he has to go back to Idaho to learn the evidence that they have against him. And so that's what's happening. I'm going to do a broadcast a little bit later, and we're going to watch the Bryan Entman interview with the BTK killer's daughter. So I love you guys. Thank you so much. And I want to thank everyone for joining me, and I'll talk to everyone later.